Well, I have another Frankenstrat project here that I'm about to start. This was a really cheap guitar that a friend of mine bought. And the fact that it's not a great guitar, and we're doing this on a budget, I'll be using this enamel paint. I really like this paint for other things. I don't usually use it on guitars though. So usually I would recommend using this. I use it all the time. It's great for guitars, but the price of the Perfect Match in my area doubled, so I can do like this whole paint job for like the price of the 3 cans. I mean, in other words, I can get all 3 colors of this for almost the same price as 1 can of these, and this will last quite a while. Like this can is really full and it really covers well. So I think I only have to buy the black for this job because I have some red left over from another one and some white left over, and I also have some clear. I'll be using all the same brand. The main difference is that I'm going to sand it a little bit more than I normally would so the paint will stick, and then I'll let it dry a week or so. Whereas with this, I'll let it dry just overnight before I do the next, do the stripes, or the, not the stripes, but do the wet sanding. With this, I'm able to do the stripes in the same day, within like an hour or two. With this, I've tried it before and it's terrible. It needs to dry for a while. So that'll be the main difference. And I'm going to tear this guitar apart right now. These guitars are great if you had never painted a guitar before. Well, I already took this top off just to see if it had the correct route that would look good for a Frankenstrat, and it does. Although I think it's routed for a humbucker up here. But these I can take apart in 5 minutes to get ready for painting. Just some other interesting thing here. This is supposed to be Trace Atkins, country singer and actor. But the person that had this guitar, they said they are the ones that got it signed, but then they put like a piece of packing tape over it to protect it, which in my mind it ruins it. So I don't know. But I'll get this back to this guy because he's into collectibles and signatures, but I don't really think he even cared much about this. But just because like I think they ruined it. Anyway, let me tear this down and then we'll sand it and do the first coat of black. So this body is in pretty good shape. All I'm doing is scuffing it up with this Scotch-Brite, but I'm doing it, this is fine, and fine mesh, but I'm just giving it quite a bit of pressure, and there's only a few spots where there might be some, like say, paint scuffs there. I'm just scuffing those off. As soon as the whole body is scuffed up with this, then I'll just take a t-shirt with this rubbing alcohol and clean the whole guitar, and then after that I'll use some compressed air and blow. Once it's bolted to my stick, I'll get compressed air and blow into every area where there could be sawdust or dirt or anything just hidden, and making sure you get into anywhere where there are holes, because it'll come out when you spray if you don't do that. So you have to spray, blow air through there. So the fact that this is an enamel paint, and this is a lacquer, even though this has like a primer, it in it, the first coat will just be like what I call a dusting, just to introduce the new type of paint to it. As you can see, this has really good coverage. The reason why I just like to do a little bit at first is just to see if anything's going to show up, like fish eyes or something weird that you can address before you get you know, a ton of paint on it. So that'll be the first coat of black. I don't see anything yet showing up. So I'll come back and show the second coat. And then from there, I'll just give it another coat off camera and let it dry for a week. So that also was a light coat, but you can probably see there's a lot of orange peel, and that's probably, I don't usually get that, so I'm assuming that's due to the two different types of paint. So I'll probably give it 2 more light coats of paint, and that way it can be wet sanded later. So this will sit for 10 minutes and I'll do a couple more coats. Okay, so this has been sitting for a week. Now some people might look at this and get discouraged if they're doing their first paint job, but I know this is all this orange peel and little blistering will come out with the final clear coat and wet sanding. So today I'm going to just scuff it a bit with, this is 1000 grit or 800 grit. So I just scuff it up so that the new paint will stick. It'll smooth it out a little bit, but it's mostly for the new paint to stick. And even though this has been sitting for a week, as I do this, if I apply too much pressure, I can feel it kind of like almost like balling up when you the sand, when you sand it. And that's because it's enamel, and that's why I don't use it usually. So that's why I'm just going to apply very light pressure just to scuff it up. And then clean it with alcohol, tape it, and then I'll go paint the white. And just one more tip, if you want to try to prevent bleed through, after you tape it, you can give a light coat of this color, whatever the color is that you're going over. So I could do a light color of black, and what that will do is kind of seal the tape, and any bleed through would be bleeding through with black, not white. So this will be the very light coat of black just to seal the tape and to try to prevent from bleeds coming through. Of course, I don't really mind bleeds that much on this type of a paint job, but I figured I'd try it. Okay, so the first few coats of white, I might actually use this silver, metallic silver. The reason why I would do that, I don't have a whole lot of white left. I'm trying to use up paints, and there's just a little bit of this left. I also think it will help lighten the color and use it as a primer over this black. And thirdly, I just think it proves the point that you can adapt while you're doing jobs where a lot of people are very rigid, and I think you can adapt and still come out with a good project. So the silver and black probably would look great together, but we're not going to get a chance to see that because I'm going right over top of it with the white. And I'll probably just do like 2 coats. This is an older can of white, and I don't know if you can see there's a little bit of splatters, but again, don't let that bother you. You can always wet sand it out if it shows up. Okay, so I pulled the tape off of this after about 20 minutes, and let me tell you why I do it that way. I didn't always do the paint jobs that way. Using the lacquer, I used to paint it and tape it, and then tape it again. So in other words, I would tape over the black, then tape over the white for the red. Now, the reason why I don't do that anymore is because, especially now with this enamel paint, the longer that tape sits on there, it's going to cure between the paint and the tape. It's going to be like kind of hard to get off, and you're going to be peeling off parts of the paint. And what you're going to end up having to do is taking the little knife and cut along all the tape edge. Now, I don't want to ever do that, so that's why I do it this way now. And I'll do a generic, like, convincing Frankenstrat tape where I'm not ever trying to make a replica, but I'll do it so that I know that I can tape back over it again with normal size tape that I can get, you know, repeatedly. So what I'll do next, this will sit for a week. I'll tape over everything next week. I will give it a, like I just did with the black, I'll give it a light wet sanding or a light sanding scuff. Clean it off again, and then tape over the black and know that that's my black stripes, and then I'll go over it, tape over the white for the that will be the white stripes, and you'll see what I mean as I do it. But that's the whole reason why you pull the tape off while the paint is still kind of tacky. But you know, I'm not going to touch it now because it would take my fingerprint, but if you bump into it, it's not like wet. Lacquer is even better with that. In like 20 minutes you can practically handle it. Now I know this enamel I'm not even going to try to handle within 20 minutes, but I was able to get my knife in there and peel it off, and it's going to be a much cleaner job doing it this way. I'll do like 3 coats, just like that, 3 light coats, and then come back, take the tape off, let it sit for, I don't know, maybe a week, and then just do some clear. So it's been a week, and now I'm going to give a light scuff with 1000 grit, and then just do a bunch of clear on top. Now here, I added 2 pieces of poplar in there. I just glued them in and screwed them down in the center. You won't see that screw. Hold on, let me get the board. This is a piece of poplar that I got at Home Depot. I like this one because it's a nice thickness, and you know, it's just about the right size that I needed for the pickups, and you could always build it up with another layer if you had to. got this guitar finally back together. This was done using just the Rustoleum. It's passable. I think it came out pretty good for the enamel. I did everything as far as the finishing, as far as wet sanding and the polishing as I would do with the lacquer, but it just took longer waiting for it to cure. So I have another one that was done with lacquer. On the screen you probably can't tell much difference between the two, other than one is a right, one is a left. You know, they're kind of different guitars, different pickups. This is a better quality guitar, but as far as looking at it on the video, you might not tell a whole lot of difference. So I'll go over the pros and cons of the different types of paint. So let me set this one down. Oh, and at the end, since I did the pickups kind of different, and I did a simple job where I reused all the wiring except for desoldering. At the end, I'll just show the difference, how this is wired up. So anyway, this is just, again, the 2X, I guess you would call it, Ultra Cover. It's a really good paint. So I don't usually use it on guitars. Obviously, I'm always using the Duplicolor. Now, one of the first differences is the price. So this Perfect Match in my area was always $7 a can, which was actually kind of dirt cheap, even though it's a smaller can. This is 8 ounces, and this one is 12 ounces. This one here, it doesn't cover as well either. So this amount of can doesn't cover as much as this. This red was it left over? I think this was left over from another job. One of the colors I think I had left over. But there's still like half a can left, and I did this whole guitar. But now at this time, at the store that I usually get it at, I think it's $12 or $13. Other stores around here it's $14 or more, and these are like $5.50 maybe. Let's just round down to $5 because I'm not that great with math. So on a job like this, if you start with a guitar, since it's normally going to be lacquer, I would use primer, or these, but these are supposed to be paint and primer. But so on this one, I used 4 colors, or one is a clear, but I used the black, red, white, and clear. That is about, we'll say $20 plus change plus tax. Let's say $25 if you include, if you get it for $5.50 or whatever. So the lacquer now, let me try to do my math. This one I used 3 colors. This one doesn't have clear on it. I used 3 colors, and let's say $12 a can. So that's what, 30, let's see, 12, 24, 36, yeah, $36. That's kind of high to paint a guitar for like this kind of stuff, so that's why I used that on this, because I wanted this guitar to turn out well. And then in the case of this one, this was a friend's, and he didn't want to invest a whole lot of money into it because it's not a very valuable guitar to start with. So besides the price, the second biggest difference is curing time. These lacquer paint jobs, I do them in a weekend, and I really don't care what anyone else says. Not to be arrogant, but I've looked it up, and that's what the time calls for. I've done it so many times, and I've never had an issue. I have guitars that are a couple years old with the paint jobs I've done in a weekend. I tape them the same day within a few hours, but I have videos on that, so you can look those up. But yeah, they turn out well. I do them in a weekend. This one was like over a month, because I had just a bad experience with enamel paints where I tried to treat it like my lacquer and taped it, and it was like pulling the tape off of molasses. So then I realized I had to wait. I waited a week each color, and I feel that I had to do that. And it polished out just, very similar to the lacquer, although it felt soft, and I didn't try to, use a lot of pressure, it feels softer. And I didn't try to stick a fingernail in this or anything like that, because I know how enamel is. So, but I'm not babying it, and I haven't had anything like peel off, or it came out well. I'm happy with it. And as far as any other differences, I don't really think there's any other differences other than, if you want a nice hard finish and you don't mind paying extra money and you want it done quick, go for the lacquer. This is like foolproof, and that's why I've had so much success with it. This one here, you can paint it, you have to let it dry. But the lacquer is not available to everyone in the whole world. But enamel paint is in pretty much every hardware store you can find, and you can get a lot of different colors. So say if I wanted to paint a guitar pink, at the time it's not available in this, so I would go get some pink paint down at the hardware store or at Walmart, somewhere like that, and I would just use that and just give it time to dry. And it feels nice and smooth. Feels hard, like you would feel on the lacquer. I think it's beautiful from what I see, and it's a good job. So it's definitely a choice. I'm going to stick with this in most cases, but this is an option. So don't be afraid to use this on a guitar. It's not my first choice, but it works. So let me just show the pickups really quick. So I also kind of wanted to do this simple for anybody out there because I get a lot of questions about painting guitars and stuff, and some people are afraid to take their guitars apart, and I don't think you should be, especially if it's a Stratocaster style guitar. Really, there's not much soldering needs to be done, and you can't get really, I can get mixed up, but it's easy to correct. So the reason why I did it this way, to be simple again, this is all the original pots, and these are two of the original pickups. This is a pickup that came out of a different guitar that I had saved. It's a humbucker from, I don't know, I think it's from an Epiphone or something like that. Yeah, it's from an Epiphone, a mini SG that I had. So all that I did as far as wiring was to desolder the original bridge pickup, 2 wires, desolder them, and then solder this one in. And the ground wire is a bare wire, so you can't mix that up. And then the hot wire is usually got a color, and it's got a little plastic sleeve on it. This one was red. And you have to solder in the jack and the ground on the claw. So it's super simple, and I reused the pick guard. I just cut it down, and I painted it with the same enamel. Let it sit for a few days to a week, and then I didn't wet sand this. I just polished it. And so far I was again not careful when I was putting these in, and nothing chipped off yet. So you're mostly going to just play on the bridge probably, but it gives you a few more options as far as pickups, but mainly it's to make it a simple job where you don't have to worry about wiring. So you could cut all those off and just wire in the humbucker. That's an option too. And this, I just added this selector switch. That's an extra one that I had saved from another job. So yeah, take a one last look at the job. This is with just regular clear coat, nothing fancy, just the same gloss clear from the Rustoleum. So thanks for watching, and thanks for bearing with my terrible voice and terrible demo, but I think this is a good option for a lot of people out there.